First, a profound hakaras hatov to Seth Grossman Shlita, who really, Baruch Hashem, on an annual basis, the yahrzeit of his father, Zechem Livracha, David Grossman, enables us to hear Divrei Torah, Baruch Hashem, of a profound nature. I won't be marich. The pasuk says, "Vayakel Moshe es kol adas b'nei Yisrael, vayomer aleim ela advarim asher tziva Hashem la'asos osam." Kol adas b'nei Yisrael. One of the many beautiful character traits of Hagoyin Havashavai Shlita is the ability to speak to Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael. What a rare and unfortunately not so common phenomena. We become, to a large extent, very sectorial, very regimented. We're divided into too many groups, and it's rare to have someone of this caliber who can speak to Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael. Without further ado, Hagoyin Havashavai.
B'shus Mordechai Asta, my dear friend Rabbi David, and I also know that the shir is sponsored by Rabbi Gottlieb's shul and Rabbi Bagnall's shul. It's a pleasure to be here again. I first feel a need to apologize. I'm somewhat late, but this is an extremely busy night. From here, I'm going to the airport, flying out, and before I came here, I saw a group of 35 girls from Chutz La'aretz that came for some divrei chizuk. So life is hectic, and Baruch Hashem, life is hectic. And so I'm happy to be here this Motzei Shabbos. So the shir today is dedicated Leilui Nishmosoi of Reb David ben Reb Menachem Onish, my dear friends, Seth's father. Seth, I find neither your jokes nor your divrei Torah to be very funny. But I love you nevertheless, because you're such an amazing and such a special person. I also want to dedicate tonight's shir to the Refuah Shalema of a few special Eden that need refuahs. First of all, 2 young soldiers, badly injured. Moshe Aaron ben Leah Blima, who needs a refuah shalema. Netanel Yankov ben Yehuda Sora, that was injured a few weeks ago, and Baruch Hashem is doing better, but still needs a refuah. He's been through many surgeries, and he still has a long way to go. Edna Batsara, young woman, 40 years old, had a baby 2 weeks ago, and she has a bad brain tumor. She needs drastic surgery. And finally, Miriam Batariela, a 19-year-old girl, also who had operation to remove a cancerous tumor. Kodesh Baruch Hu should send a refuah shalema to all of them. And if you could write down the names and daven for them, besides me dedicating this year, they should all have a refuah shalema. So we are approaching Purim, and it's only natural that a shir should be be'inyone diyoma. But since Simchas Torah, almost every shir that I have given, besides the shirim and koilalim, which we learn Hilchos Ribis and some other koilalim, but every general shir I have given in the past few months since Simchas Torah is somewhat related to the war. Because this war weighs very heavily on me, and I just can't be Masiach Das of all those young soldiers and all those dying every day and those getting injured every day, and they merit our tefillas and our Torah and our thoughts and our tears. So we are approaching Purim. Purim is one of the happiest days we have, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us. Kol Beis Yisrael, so many families will have difficulty being happy this Purim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisameach et libois b'nei Yisrael. So I find in a strange way that the period we are in right now is somewhat similar to what we experienced a few years ago in the COVID pandemic. And some of the shilas are of the same nature. So a soldier out there in the south or in the north, and he knows he would not be able to read the Megillah only either by night or by day. He's in service. Which of the two has preference? What should he do? And I dealt halacha l'maisa with this question in the COVID period when thousands of people were confined in their homes, and many people were afraid to go visit and read the Megillah to people. And many people asked me, there are volunteers, wonderful people that are willing to visit the ill that are in their homes, but either by night or by day, is their preference. One of the two is more important if one needs to choose. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says in Megillah Daf Daled Amud Aleph, Chayav Adam likrois es Megillah b'layla v'leshnoisa b'yom. So we need to read the Megillah by night and by day. Is one more important than the other, or they're both the same level of chiyuv? Machlokes Rambam and Tosfos. The Rambam maintains that we say Shechionu by night and we do not need to say Shechionu by day, just like B'Haidlukas Ner Chanukah. You say Shechionu only the first time, Leil Aleph Shel Chanukah, and you do not say it again, even though the mitzvah is performed every night. Shemoinos Leilos Chanukah. So the Rambam says the same refers to Mikra Megillah. You say Mikra Megillah by Kriyas Megillah by night, and you do not say the Shechionu again by day. But Tosfos, Daled Amud Aleph and Masechet Megillah says, even though we say Shechionu when we read the Megillah by night, we need to say Shechionu again in the morning. And it is not entirely clear what the rationale is. Tosfos says, Iker Persumei Nisa B'yom. Obviously, there was far more Persumei Nisa B'yom than by night. What we see in many early sources, from the Gemara to the Rishonim, that in days of yore, many people stayed home by night. Sometimes it was a sakana to leave your home by night. At darkfall, the wolves and the bears and the burglars and the Robin Hoods came out of the woods and they were waiting for people. And that is why Chazal were metakan berachas me'ein sheva beleil Shabbos. People shouldn't need to go home alone. So obviously, Tosfos says, by day there is more persumenis, and that is why, even though we said Shechionu by night, we say it again by day. But that enough is not really reasonable. So what would be the din if Leil Aleph Shel Chanukah, a guy was very late, and by the time he lit his Ner Chanukah, no one is really out there. And the second night, there's a chasana next door, a bar mitzvah or a yortzeit, and loads of people, hundreds of people are coming in and out. What do you say Shechionu again? Second night Chanukah. There is far more Persumei Nisa tonight than I had yesterday night. I lit Ner Chanukah 11 o'clock by night. There was no one out there. So what do you say Shechionu again? Definitely not. I don't think any posek in his proper senses would say Shechionu again the second or the third or the eighth night of Chanukah because you have more Persumei Nisa. So obviously it is not only because there is more Persumei Nisa, and Tosfos goes on, and Tosfos says, first of all, more Persumei Nisa by day. And also, the Gemara says, Sudas Purim, you're not Yoitze by night, only by day. Hayomim ha'ele niskorim venasim. And niskorim venasim iskish zechir el asiyah. So just like Sudas Purim, you're not Yoitze by night, maybe you're not Yoitze Mikra Megillah by night. However, Mikra Megillah is not like Sudas Purim, because Sudas Purim we only have by day, and Mikra Megillah is a chiyuv by night and by day. So nevertheless, Tosfos says, even though we said Shechionu by night, you need to say Shechionu again by day. And as I mentioned, as I explained, Tosfos alternates. There are a few svaros. Tofresh Tzadik Beis, this is a machlokes, the Machaber and the Ramah. And as always expected, Shulchan Aruch follows in the footsteps of the Rambam. And as he follows in Tofresh Tzadik Beis, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, you say Shechionu by night, and you do not say Shechionu then by day. The Ramah says, Yesh Oimrim, that we say Shechionu by day as well. V'chein noyagim b'kol ha'medinois elu. All the Medinas, where the Kahilas Ashkenaz, we act in accordance to the Tosfos and the Rosh. We say Shechionu again. Mogan Avram Siv Cotton Beis, Ikar Kriyasa B'yom. So the Mogan Avram is more explicit, more clear than Tosfos. And the Mogan Avram says, Ikar Mitzvahs Megillah is B'yom. It's not only an additional Persumei Nisa. Yesh Ikar V'tafel. Ikar Mitzvahs Megillah B'yom. And we also need to read the Megillah by night, but the Ikar Mitzvahs by day, and that is why justifies Shechionu number 2. So we need to say Shechionu by night because it's been a year since we read the Megillah. and it's a mitzvah born lizman lizman, mitzvah sheyesh bo simcha. And therefore, we need to say Shechionu by night because it is the first time we perform this mitzvah, but we say it again by day because that is Ikar HaMitzvah. Prima Godim, on that Magen Avraham, Eshel Avraham, Tofrei Tzadik Beis Yivkot and Beis, the Prima Godim says, and what he says is actually a guess, but is a valid guess, the Prima Godim. And the Prima Godim says, I think that Mordechai and Esther first were metaken Mikra Megillah by day, and only at a later stage, Mikveh Megillah by night. How do we know it was two stages? It's not Mefurish in Tosfos, neither in the Magen Avraham, but in the Megillah, the posuk is Hayomim ha'elen eskorim v'nasam, and the Gemara is Medayek Hayomim Yomim v'Reileilos legabi Sudis Purim. So it would make sense to assume, like the Prima Godim says, that maybe Mikra Megillah by day or by night was a later tekana. And that is why the Magen Avraham explains Tosfos, Ikar Kriyosa B'yoim V'lo B'layla. Turei Even goes even further. And the Turei Even, on this part, the Megillah Daf Dalet says, only Mikra Megillah by day is Divrei Kabbalah. Mordechai ve'Esther, bebeis dinoi shel Mordechai, were metaken Mikra Megillah only by day, and that is Divrei Kabbalah. Because Megillah Esther is Kisvei HaKodesh, and that has the Chashivus of Tanakh, and that is Divrei Kabbalah. Mikra Megillah Balayla is Divrei Soifrim, and that's a later takona. And maybe it was a takoni only in the days of the Ameroim, because we do not find Mikra Megillah Balayla neither in the Mishnah nor in the Brisa. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is the one that says Chayav l'kroisa Balayla v'l'shnoisa b'yom. So Mikra Megillah by day is Divrei Kabbalah, while Mikra Megillah by night is only Divrei Soifrim. So the Turei Even says that both halachas that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is Machadash and Megillah Daf Daled and Medalef, and these halachas, these both chidushim, these both halachas are juxtaposed. They come together in Megillah Daled and Medalef. Noshim chayovos b'mikra Megillah, afen hoya b'yoser enes, and that is Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And the second halacha of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is chayav l'kroisa b'layla v'l'shnoisa b'yoyim. And the Turei Even says, both these takonis are only medivrei soifrim. Mordechai was not metakan Megillah, only for men and not for women, only by day and not by night. So both halachas of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi are later takonis, later additions. And the Turei Even has a new pshat in the psak of the halachas gedolos, brought Megillah Daf Daled and also in Erech in Daf Gimel, that women cannot be moitzi men by Mikra Megillah. So the Halachas Gedolim says, because their chiyuv is of a different nature, Anoshim chayovim b'kriya, Noshim chayovim b'shmiya, but the Turei Even says, Noshim are only chayiv medivrei soifrim, and they can be moitzi a chiyuv medivrei Kabbalah. Just like one that is only mechiyev derabanan cannot be moitzi a diuraisa, big chiddush of the Turei Even. Everybody knows who was the Turei Even. He's the Shagas Zaharia. And he says, just like the Rabbona cannot be Moitzi Diuraisa, Divrei Soifim cannot be Moitzi Divrei Kabbalah. And that is why women can't be Moitzi men b'Mikra Megillah. And I ask, according to the Turei Even, if we combine both Turei Evens, how about Mikra Megillah Balayla? Could women be Moitzi men Mikra Megillah Balayla? Because if we combine these two Turei Evens, Balayla, even by men it's only Medivrei Soifrim. So maybe that would depend on a big machlokes in Rishonim and Megillah Yutes and elsewhere in Shas, whether Trei Derabanan is Moitzi Chad Derabanan. Because by men Balayla it's just Chad Derabanan, by women it's a Trei Derabanan. But the Chiddush is, they're coming to be Moitzi, not someone that's chayiv min haTorah, but someone that's chayiv min divrei Kabbalah. So this is an interesting question. Would we say a trei derabanan can be moitzi achad derabanan, which is chad divrei Kabbalah, not a diuraisa? But anyway, according to the Torah Yovim, the difference between Mikra Megillah Balayla and Mikra Megillah B'Yom is not only there is more pursuing, it's different by nature and the level of chiyuv, because the Konas Anshe Knesses Agdoila B'Yamei Mordechai V'Yester was only by day, and by night is a far later Tekon. It's only Medivrei Seifrim, and maybe even Tekonas Ameroim. There are very few Tekonas in Shas that were instituted B'Yamei Ameroim. The vast majority of the Rabbanins are Chachmei HaMishnah. But in some places we find Tekonas from the Tkufas Ameroim, and maybe this would be one of them, and that is the Memra of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. The Sfas Emes goes to the greatest extreme, and the Sfas Emes on that very same sugya has two gewaldige chedushim explaining Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, chayev l'kloisa b'layla u'leshanoisa b'yoyim. And I need to give a very, very brief introduction about the derech halimed of the Sfas Emes. Sfas Emes was a giant. He was the second Gerer Rebbe, as probably most of you know, even though I don't see many Streimlich in this room. I might even be the only one, which would be a Chiddush. So the Sfas Emes was a grandson of the Chidush Harim, and he was the second Gerer Rebbe. He was the leader of a huge Hasidic community, and during his lifetime, he was known as one of the greatest Rabbeim, but he was not known as a sage, as a Goen. And his Chidushim were printed only after his demise, and the world was shocked, because Sfas Emes is a gewaldige Sefer, Sfas Emes al Shas. But he functioned as a Rebbe, not as a Rosh Yeshiva, not as a Poisik, and he was obviously an amazing Goen. But he had an interesting derech halimed. He learned Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos, and he wrote his Chidushim. He did not learn the Rishonim. And it is very obvious in his form, especially on Masechet Shabbos, because he constantly asks the kashas of the Rashba, of the Ritva, of the Ran. And what is even more surprising, he asks the same kashas as they ask, and usually he gives the same tirutzim as they give. And that proves his yashris, how straight he was, that is usually machavan ledivrei Rabbi Seinu Harishonim. But here the Sfas Emes says two gewaldige chedushim, and he says, I think pshat chayev l'kloisa b'yoyim b'laylo v'leshanoisa b'yoyim. If you skipped Mikra Megillah Balayla for any reason, you need to read it twice by day, midin tashlumin. Just like tashlumin b'tfilah. You skipped Marav, you skipped Avis, you need to daven Tush Manesis in the morning. Maybe that's pshat chayev l'kloisa b'layla v'leshanoisa b'yom. Leshanoisa means twice. Not only second time, first time by night and second time by day, but maybe midin tashlumin. So if for any reason you didn't hear the Megillah by night, you need to hear it twice in the morning. So those people that are afraid, I need to choose either night or morning, well, if you skip night and you choose morning, you're going to need to hear two Megillahs in the morning, and I'm not sure that the Balkoira will be willing to volunteer to read the Megillah twice for you in the morning when he needs to see many other people. But then the Sfas Emes writes, Ro'isi bebirkei Yosef, the Birkei Yosef brings such an opinion, and he totally rejects it. Nowhere do we find that by Mikra Megillah there's a din of Tashlumin. And then the Sfas Emes suggests even a greater Chiddush, and he says, Chayev l'kloisa b'layla v'leshanoisa b'yoyim, that Mikra Megillah Balayla is just like a preparation for the Megillah by day. He doesn't compare it, but it is comparable to a Shliach Tzibur that needs to daven Balachash, Yesader Tfilosoi. And then he davens out loud. And the Sfas Emes says, according to my Chiddush, if you're not going to hear a Megillah by day for any reason, you don't need to read the Megillah by night. Because by night is just like a preparation for Mikra Megillah by day. And I say, are you serious? Zumenayin lecho. How could you say such a... I don't want to use any derogatory words, but how could you say such a chiddush that never ever did anybody think about? Mehechet teisa. And he says, that is why Chazal use a sprach, use a lashon lekloisa b'layla v'leshnoisa b'yoyim. Why don't they say Chayav Odom Likros Megillah B'Laylo V'Yoyim? Or Likros B'Laylo V'Shanoisa B'Yoyim? So he says, the reason to read by night is because by day it needs to be the second Kriya. What is the importance of the second Kriya? What is the logic that you need to read by night in order that by day should be the second Kriya? I said maybe it's like Yisadat Philosophy, but it's not the same. Yisadat Philosophy is in immediacy. Doesn't make sense. You need to read the Megillah by night for what? So he says the Ikar is that the Kriya by day should be the second Kriya. So Ein Halachic Hamoisoi. But what I want to prove from three sources, starting off with Tosfos. Even though we said a Shechoni by night, we say by day. Day is more important than night. Moving over to the Magen Avraham, Ikar mitzvahs Megillah b'yoyim. Then comes along the Turei Even. B'yoyim is divrei Kabbalah, b'light is only divrei Seifim. And he's not the only one. The Noida B'Yud, the Siman Mem Aleph, has an amazing tshuva. Shaila aloch ala ma'isa. Yud Dalet b'layla. It was rainy season. They didn't say Kiddush Lavona. In middle of Kriyas HaMegillah, a kid runs into the shul, there's a Lavona. What are they supposed to do? And the Noida B'Yud is surprisingly paskins. It's counterintuitive. I'm sure that somebody that doesn't know the Noida B'Yud wouldn't guess. He says, we stop the Megillah in the middle, we go out, we say Kiddush Lavona, we come back, and we finish the Megillah. And his cheshbon is, the Megillah will patiently wait till we come back. Nobody could promise that the Lavona will patiently wait till we finish the Megillah. So Kiddush Lavona might be a mitzvah oiveres, and by a mitzvah veres we don't say oisik b'mitzvah potam and a mitzvah, and therefore we stop the Megillah in the middle, we go out, we say Kiddush Lavona. I don't think that you need to dance Kishem Shani Roikid Lefonecho. We could do that after we finish the Megillah. But you need to say the bracha of Kiddush Lavona. That's the psak of Noida B'Yud, and the Noida B'Yud says. But Mikra Megillah is medivrei Seifrim, and it's only a mitzvah d'Rabbanon, and Megillah is divrei Kabbalah. And he says Megillah by night is also medivrei Seifrim. So the Noida B'Yud says the same as the Turei Oven. Yeshua Yaakov Siman Tofrei Tzadik has a chiddush, and he wants to say, according to the Radbaz quoted by the Magen Avraham in Siman Samach, that only a mitzvah d'oraisa tzorech kavona, mitzvah d'Rabbanan ein tzorech kavona. Maybe mikra begila b'yoyim tzorech kavona, because divrei Kabbalah ke divrei Torah damyan, but mikra megillah b'layla ein tzorech kavona, because it's only d'Rabbanan. I think the Yeshua Yaakov quotes the Turei Even. So there are various Gedolim that hold this mahalach, even though it seems to be a chiddush. And the biggest chiddush, and that has taken this to an extreme, which I totally disagree with, is the Sfas Emes, that if you're not going to read the Megillah by day, you don't even need to read it by night, because by night is somewhat of a preparation. And I have no idea why the Sfas Emes thinks that explains the difference in the Lashon, L'kroisa b'layla v'l'shanoisa b'yom. To me, that diuk means nothing. You read it by night, and you read it again by day. That's the mashmos of l'shanoisa b'yom. I don't think this difference in wording has any significance. So coming back to the question we asked at the beginning of our shir, assuming that the mitzvah of Kriyas Megillah by day is more important than the mitzvah Kriyas Megillah b'layla. The question is, how much more important? According to the Sfas Emes, huge. According to the Turei Even, significant. According to the Magen Avraham and Tosfos, meaningful. I'm just trying to find some words that will express the difference. So what would be preferable? Waiting till tomorrow to be Makayim the mitzvah in a more mahudr, more choshev a way, or maybe it's reason magdim and a mitzvahs. You have a mitzvah to perform tonight, and maybe it's even ein ma'avirin ala mitzvahs, not only is reason magdimin. So Tov Reish Nun Aleph and Shara Tshuva Be'er Heitev Siman Tzadik. This is a very well-known machlokes between the Radbaz and the Chacham Tzvi. Radbaz Chelik Daled Siman Yud Gimel deals with the question, person is in prison. And in those days, in prison, you had no religious rights at all. Nobody cared what you need. And even today, it's not nice to say, but if you need to be in prison, Israel is the best place. I know some people that were sitting in prison in Israel. I know one of them, he made a siyum hashas in jail. First time in his life he made a siyum hashas. And when he was released, in a way, he was happy to go back to his family, but he missed the time that he spent there because he learned more than he ever learned in his entire life. So, my dear friends, I'm not recommending anybody should try to get there. No, I do not mean to recommend that, but if you need to sit in prison, this is the place. Not only if you need to sit in prison, wherever you need to sit, this is the place. But even in prison. So a person is bebeis asurim, and he was notified he could have a day out, and he could choose that day. Should he leave prison the first opportunity? Tomorrow morning you could daven with minyan, you could hear kriyas haTorah, you're going to have berachas koyanim. Take advantage, or maybe it's 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. Maybe it's better Rosh Hashanah I could hear Tkiyah Shofar, a mitzvah diuraisa, and it's a huge davening, Malchi Zachron Shofros. It's a week before Pesach. Maybe I should choose the first day Yom Tov. So many mitzvahs. Matzah, Moror, Dalet Koisis. And that's a machlokes between two giants, the Radbaz and the Chacham Tzvi. Would we say, these Magdim ala mitzvahs, first opportunity out? That's the opinion of the Radbaz. The Chacham Tzvi says no. Better to wait and be Makayim more mitzvahs and greater mitzvahs and more choshev mitzvahs. Would our question be comparable? Yesh Halachic. In our sugya, we're dealing with the same mitzvah. However, by day, it's more of a hidur. It's the ikar mitzvah, but it is the same mitzvah. In their case, we're dealing with totally different mitzvahs. In our case, I said there are different levels of interpretations of Gedolim Achronim. What is the difference between Megillah B'yom and Megillah B'layla? But if we're dealing with a mitzvah diuraisa like Tkiyah Shofar and Matzah, Le'umas compared to davening with minyan, which is definitely only a derabanan, Kriyas haTorah is only a derabanan. So would the question be the same? Yesh lachalak lakan v'lachan. There's room to argue. If it's the same mitzvah, everybody would agree. Take the first opportunity. It's the same mitzvah. You have the mitzvah of Megillah B'layla. It's not as choshev as Megillah B'day, but it is the same mitzvah. And it's the same number of mitzvahs. It's not more. Or would we say maybe to the contrary? If it's the same mitzvah, you have the chiyuv to perform the mitzvah in its lachatchiladic form. But I would not say Mikra Megillah B'layla is a b'diavad. This is mitzvahs halayla, and that is mitzvahs hayom. So, in one of my svarim I wrote, and I apologize, I don't remember where. Many times I apologize. I remember many svarim better than I remember the Minchas Osher, and that is for a very simple reason. To me, the Ktsois and the Nesivas, the Noide B'Yehuda, the Yushet, are Gersa de Yankuta. When I was young, there was no Minchas Osher. So it is not Gersa de Yankuta, and I don't remember this sefer very well. Anybody that calls me and asks me something, where did you write about this? You won't know. I send them to my son-in-law. He remembers the Minchas Osher far better than I do. But I did discuss this machlokes, and I wrote that it is a mistake to describe the dilemma with Zrizn Magdim ala mitzvahs. I think it is Shehiu mitzvahs lo mashinan. Because in Minchas Osher Bereishis, I think it's in Parshas Vayera, there's a long discussion, and I am explaining 4 different halachas that seem to be the same, but they're definitely not the same. So these Magdim al mitzvahs, Shehu mitzvahs lo mashhinan, Ein maviran ala mitzvahs, Chaviva mitzvah b'shato. I don't have the time, especially when I'm rushing to the airport, to go into the details. But these 4 halachas, in many sources in Shas, seem to be of the same essence. Do the mitzvah as fast as you can and don't wait. But I explained 4 different halachas. If Chazal use different language, it must mean different halachas. They don't use different language to express the same halacha. So Zeriz Magdim al mitzvahs is a manifestation, an expression of chibuv mitzvah. When you love to do something, you don't put it off. When you love to engage in something, you want it as fast as possible. If you have little kids and they love a certain candy, and you tell them, not tonight, tomorrow, they'll throw a tantrum. I don't want to wait till tomorrow. I want this now. So this mitzvah is an expression of chivuv mitzvah. If you love a mitzvah, do it now. Something that doesn't make you happy, you prefer to postpone. Lo magdim inash poranuta lenafshei. Bad things you want to push off. Good things you want now. That is Rizim Magdim al mitzvahs. Shu mitzvahs lo mashinan is a totally different concept. Rizim Magdim al mitzvahs is only by mitzvahs shebegavra, only by mitzvahs that are avodas Hashem, mitzvahs that we need to be makayim besimcha. Shir mitzvahs lo mashinan is found first, Yevomis Lametes, by chalitza. Chalitza is not the nature of a mitzvah that is avodas Hashem. So the din of Shir mitzvahs lo mashinan says, mitzvah begodor liyabim, the oldest brother, he has the mitzvah of yibam or chalitza. If he's in Chutz La'aretz, he's a Medina Sayam, we don't wait for him to get back and we go to the next in age. Why don't we wait? Shur mitzvahs lo mashina. We don't push off mitzvahs. Chalitza doesn't have the nature of Zrizim Magdim ala mitzvahs. Ledati. Shur mitzvahs lo mashina is, don't postpone a mitzvah ki mi yodea shema yitaref hasho. You're waiting for the brother to come back from Chutz La'aretz. In the meantime, the younger brother might travel. The older brother might not come back. He might come back and decide not to cooperate. Shir mitzvahs lo mashinan is, do a mitzvah now, because nobody could promise you whether you'll do it at a later time. So this is Magdim ala mitzvahs is, do we say a broch on the lulav before davening or before halal? There's no reason to be afraid you can't do it later. Dalad mina mar biyodcho. That is an expression of loving a mitzvah, chibuv mitzvah. That's the reason Magdimin. Shir mitzvahs lo mashinan is of a totally different nature. It is like Yevomis Lametes by Chalitza or Yevomis Mem Zayin by Gerus. The moment the Beis Din is convinced that the ger has pure intentions, do the gerus now. And once again, the Gemara says, Shir mitzvahs lo mashinan. Don't push it off. Things might change. Something might happen to the ger. He has pure intentions, do it now. And I say in the story of the prisoner, it's Shir mitzvahs lo mashinan. So you're going to push it off for 2 weeks. Maybe the crazy guy in charge of your cell will change his mind. And how do you know? If you could get out now. Take advantage. Take advantage. You're toli b'das acherim. Who could promise you what's going to be in 2 weeks' time? 1,000 things can happen. And that is the reason I would say, there, now. So all depends on the circumstances. When we're in a war zone, and you are told, we could read the Megillah for you now, tonight, or tomorrow. You cannot know. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till tomorrow. Things might change. There might be an attack. Your unit might be rushed out to the field. You cannot know. And therefore, In that case, I would say, Shiur mitzvahs lo mashinan, and that is the more important consideration, even though Mikra Megillah b'yayim might be more important, as we explained, than Mikra Megillah b'layla. So we discussed various different concepts tonight, and not only the sugya of Mikra Megillah. And whenever I have an opportunity to speak to a huge crowd of Lomdei Torah and Talmidei Chachamim, I always try to pick a sugya that is not only a local sugya, but something that people could use in many other different sugyas, as we discussed tonight. So this Shabbos was Shabbos Shkolim. So let me share with you just a few thoughts and feelings about the mitzvah of Machzas HaShekel. Lo yeh benegev b'fkoidoisam. And the Gemara Megillah Yudalet says, Gole v'yadu lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu she'osad Haman la'atel shkolim kedei laharig ula'abid ula'hashmid, and that is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu was magdim shekleim lishkolov. So this Mama Chazal could be interpreted literally, shekel for shekel. Haman ad shkolim. So we have the mitzvah of Machzas HaShekel, but I think it goes far deeper than that. In times of sakona, in times of danger, we need chesed, we need tzedakah. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that Klal Yisrael will be in great tragedy, b'yamei Haman v'Achashverosh, and there will be a gzeira decree laharag la'ashmed u'le'abed higdim shekleihem l'shkolov. Dorshei Rashimois explain Machzas HaShekel. Machzas has 5 letters. The middle letter is the tzaddik. The 2 letters at the extreme, first and last, are mem tov, which is mace. The 2 inner letters are ches yud, which is chai. And the tzaddik represents, indicates tzedakah. The sgula of tzedakah is to chase away the malach hamavis, to separate the men from the tov, and to bring together the chet and the yud. Lahar bois chayim. Like the Pasuk says in Mishlei, utzedakah tatzil memavis. Bava Based Daf Yud Aleph, Chazal tell a story about Binyamin and Tzaddik. שהיו גבאי של צדוקה. ופעם אחת בוסו איש לפניו ואמרו, רבי, פרנסני. And he says, who avoid, I swear, ein bekupa shel tzedakah klum. Anybody that goes to Gemachim knows sometimes you come to a Gemach and they tell you there's no money now, come back in a week, come back in 2 weeks, come back in 3 weeks, some money is expected to come in. And Binyamin Tzaddik says, we ran out of funds, come back next week. And she says, Rebbe, no, I'm not coming back next week. I'm an only mother. Either she was an almona or I don't know. And she's caring for her 7 children. And he says, if you're not going to help me, I and my children might die from hunger. He went into the other room and wrote her a personal check. What could you do when a lady tells you, I'm dying from hunger? And then Binyamin Tzaddik fell ill, v'notolomus, and he was dying. Malachi Ashoris came before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's a chiddush. The Malachim intervened. It's not their job. They don't usually do that. But the Gemara says, Malachi Ashoris came before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ato Omarto, Kol HaMakayim Nefesh Achzor Ki Eluki Amoyle Molei. That's chiddush number 2. Ato Omarto. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, where did I say that? In the Gemara. What Chazal say, they speak in your name. And the Malachim tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ato Omarto. You're the one that said, Kol HaMakayim Nefesh Achas Misol Ki Elukim Oile Molei. Tzadik Zeh Shehichyo Shmoine Nefoshes V'Yisrael Yamut B'Yamim Ma'atim Miyad Nikra Gzar Dino Va'amri La Hosifo Lo Chov Beishonim Al Shnotav. We see the power of tzedakah. He had a miraculous recovery. And not only was he healed, 22 years were added on to his lifetime, more than what was originally destined for him. And whenever I quote this Mama Chazal, I feel I must share with you the Gaon, because it's a combination of Ruach HaKodesh and pure genius. So the Gaon says, why 22 years? No number is coincidental, neither in Torah nor in Nevi'im v'Ksuvim, and not even in Divrei Chazal. There must be a reason. Why did he get another 22 years? So the Gaon says, Bava Basa Taftes, the Gemara says, Anoisim pruta la'oni misborech b'shishu brachos, v'amafaisoi b'dvorim mitbarech b'yud aleph. You give tzedakah 6 brachos, and if you give it in a proper fashion with a smile on your face, and you give it in a way that doesn't make the recipient feel embarrassed, then you have Yud Aleph brachos. 8 times 11 is 88. Shmoyne nefashos, isha v'shiva b'neo. 88. And the Gemara in Shlita says, Zchut tole shlosha chodeshim. 3 times 88 is 264. And that is exactly Chav Beis Shonim. 12 times 22 is 264. And that's the cheshbon why he got Chav Beis Shonim al Shenoisav. But what we see from this Gemara is the power of Chesed and the power of Tzedakah. So since Simchas Torah, we've been talking all the time. What is our duty when so many young soldiers are fighting in the field, some of them dying, and the only number we know is of the ones killed, but many, many, many more were very badly injured, and so many broken families. So those that have the schus to sit in Beis Medrash, we need to learn more and learn better, daven more and daven better, being more ahava v'achva v'reus, more achdus and chesed. So in the past few months, I've been seeing hundreds of people coming from the entire world. Hundreds of thousands have come, but I've been seeing almost every day missions, delegations, and I tell them all, are you aware that you are insane? And they all look at me puzzled, some of them offended. Why does the Rav think we're insane? And I say, because sane people stay away from a war zone. There's been a terrible war raging in the Ukraine for 2 years, and I'm not aware that hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians from the entire world are coming to Kiev and to Lviv and to Mariupol. Everybody stays away. So why are we insane? We are beautifully, magnificently insane. Because we're not only a people, we are a family. And when your brother is hurting, you want to sit next to him. And you don't just call from 1,000 miles away to ask, how are you doing? When your brother is hurting, you want to see him, you want to feel him. So Jews are coming from the entire world, and many of them don't even know why we are coming. We're coming because we want to see, we want to hear, we want to feel, and we want to try to be helpful. So it is a manifestation that we are the chosen people. We're different than all the others. We are the only insane people. We are the people that are a family, and everybody wants to feel. But I tell people, you could be helped from far away as well, because we believe in Torah, we believe in Divrei Chazal, we believe in the Gemara Makas Daf Yud, Oim do Yisoyu Ragleinu b'Malchome b'Zchut Shari Yerushalayim Shoiskim b'Torah. And I say, if you are the same today as you were Erev Simchas Torah, the 6th of October, then you need to do a cheshbon nefesh. If nothing has changed, either you don't believe or you don't care. Because if you believe and you care, how come you're doing nothing? It's either you don't believe in Divrei Chazal and you don't believe that Torah and Tefillah and Tzedakah could make a difference, or you do believe and you don't care. Both options are horrible. So I believe that we all believe in the koyach of Torah and Tefillah and Chesed, and I believe that we all care when Jews are dying and the Yishuv is in a sakana. So we all need to do better. Our Torah, our davening, and also a lot of Chesed and a lot of Tzedakah. Because Klal Yisrael is b'sakana, and each and every Jew in the entire world, Ish ve'isha, minar va'ad zoken, everybody is called to arms, and everybody needs to contribute in his own way. Daven more, daven better, learn better, give more tzedakah, and we should be zoicha, shekodesh Baruch Yerachem alamo. So the Sfas says in the Torahs, on Purim, it's the second Sfas I'm mentioning tonight. I disagreed with the first, but I totally agree with the second. And the Sfas says, every year, b'yamei Purim, there is a hisoidus of the Sgula, v'nahafachu asher yishletu haYehudim heimo b'soineim, sh'Hashem Yerachem, we should see b'korov, v'nahafachu asher yishletu haYehudim heimo b'soineim, we should see nisim and aflois, k'Hashem shosiso lavuseinu, b'yom b'zman hazeh, and all the young soldiers should come home l'chaim v'lesimcha v'lesholom, and HaKadosh Baruch Yerachem al kol am Yisrael, and we should be zoicha to be as Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mheiro v'yomeinu. Amen.